Yay! Aloha, love tribe. Welcome to the Bitcoin Peace and Music Podcast. I'm your host, DJ Valerie B. Love, and I have somebody here who is an epic entrepreneur and artist, and he is on a mission to help make learning about Bitcoin cool and fun. This is Alladin. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Woohoo! And
Super excited.
so you're the founder of the Bitcoin Freedom Adoption Cards of FAC4T. Tell me how do we say this? Fact? Do we say fact? What do we do?
So I played with the names many different ways when I first started this, and I had a really good buddy of mine that through the suggestion, he goes, because it was originally Freedom Adoption Trading Cards, but then he goes, if you call it Freedom Adoption Cards for Trading, then your acronym is FACT. And that's what this is all about, is spreading facts. And I'm like, right, I love that. So I know it's kind of a complicated way to put it together, but in the end, having my acronym is FACT, just it's worth it to me to have a little bit more complicated name. And hopefully the cards are so amazing in the end that we can get past that and I can continue with that FACT acronym.
Well, I think this is so cool. And I'm really grateful that you're taking time to come. Tell people what you just told me right before we go live, that you said this is your very first
podcast.
Yeah!
Valerie is amazing. She's definitely going to be introducing me in a very peaceful, wonderful way. I'm super stoked to have you as my first podcast interviewer. I couldn't be any better. I love it.
I love popping people's cherries on certain things like podcasts and Burning Man and other fun things.
I was going to buy a cherry balloon, literally. I couldn't find one. And then at the beginning of the podcast, but I couldn't find one. So we'll metaphorically pop the cherry.
Maybe I haven't learned how to do video editing really. Maybe we'll get one of the video editor gods to like put a little cherry pop in there. That's fun. Well, okay, so let's talk about you. Like you and I got to meet through the Pacific Bitcoin group, right? Because you're talking about music and stuff, and I'm like, oh, cool, music. Let's talk about music. But then you sent me a song, which is amazing, by the way. I love it. And then I learned that you're doing this business. So, I mean, you're clearly an artist. You're an entrepreneur. Tell everybody like why did you decide that this would be a great path for you to get the word of Bitcoin out for everybody?
Excellent. So, like many people in Bitcoin, once you discover the power of Bitcoin and the potential that we can actually find decentralization in something and then possibly be able to unite that in throughout the world, it grabbed me more than anything. I grew up very freedom minded. So the moment I found Bitcoin and started learning about it, all lights went on. I was just completely hooked immediately. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So as I started learning more and more about Bitcoin and the potential it has for all humans in a way like no other technology ever created, I said, okay, this is it. I've played with so many different projects throughout my life, serial entrepreneur, and Bitcoin was like, okay, there's nothing else that I want to do. This is my calling. I always thought there were other things that might have been it, but no, this is it in every way. So now I'm going, okay, now how can I get into Bitcoin, and what's my number one goal in getting in Bitcoin? It's to spread the knowledge and get as many people to find Bitcoin as possible. So I did trading cards before in the past and another industry. So I've done many years of research in trading cards and played around with it. So I was like, okay, if there's a way to bring that back and utilize that in Bitcoin and what I want to do in Bitcoin by spreading adoption, how can I do that? So I immediately started obviously taking as many notes as I could, trying to figure out, okay, how can I make this work? One of the biggest things that hit me was I need as much information and feedback as possible from my target audience, which is everybody, which that's kind of a hard one because I know when it comes to any business consultants I've talked to over the year, who's your target audience? And if you say everybody, they immediately just want to kick your ass.
Yeah, I know. It's such a tough one, right? Because you're like, but Bitcoin is for everybody because everybody uses money. And
Yes,
it's super important that everybody understands this. But there's obviously, as a consultant, there's ways to go through like, okay, layer by layer target certain groups of humans at certain places. And so
yeah, build your go-to-market strategy, make your pyramid, and where do you start, and then you can branch off. So I've been definitely understand that, and now trying to figure that out has been my main one. And we've got an idea for that. So obviously going to the Bitcoin community first and rallying the troops is our main goal to get started. And then hopefully if we can rally the troops enough, we can start pushing this thing out to the next level, which is anybody and everybody that we can reach with Bitcoin. I think in the end, that's the ultimate goal for any Bitcoiner, is we want to bring everybody into this, because it is freedom and truth for the whole entire world. Fix the money, fix the world.
Fix the money, fix the world. And like you said, you had a big aha moment when you discovered Bitcoin, and you were like, oh my gosh, like what was it about Bitcoin that got you like just on fire?
I think the first was decentralization. I've always understood decentralization, but I never really understood. I'm a very literal person. So I'm like, okay, that's everything, but how can we actually make that work? How can we decentralize the world? And I've ran so many different creative ideas in my mind over the years of how we can do that, but nothing ever clicked. And then with Bitcoin, the moment I understood how Bitcoin worked and the fact that it was decentralized in every way, I said, oh my God, that was my aha moment. We actually have something that is truly decentralized, and it's specifically built for everyone. So I was like, that was my big hook right there, was holy crap, we've done it. Satoshi has created decentralization, and in the most important aspect, money. So that was my awe.
And why is decentralization, why does it matter to you, and why should it matter to people listening?
When you have a centralized body, then there's always one group that is controlling the final outcome. And that's with everything. So being in music, and you're in music, you understand that a centralized music conglomerate, the way they hold it all together, in the end, you have to ask permission in one way or another.
Yeah.
And you have to have certain elements give you that right and ability beyond just your small reach. If you want to use a platform, in the end, you're going to have to ask for permission in a way with that platform. And it may not be like YouTube. You don't have to ask for permission, but in the end, they can censor you, they can block you. So there is no decentralization in that, obviously. If they don't like what you're saying, then they can automatically stop that. So the biggest one was just looking at how anybody that wants to grow an amazing idea has to, in the end, have permission in a way. And that's always been something that I was highly against, especially with the fact that the censorship is against people that are putting out facts. When the Fact Patrol jumps in, especially over the last few years, dramatically, it's shown me. And in 2016, YouTube was amazing in so many ways. There were so many different amazing creators out there that were giving amazing facts on things that today, 90% of what I used to follow and watch is gone. Like there's no place for that. You have to go outside into decentralized platforms. So that was a big one for me, is understanding that so many great creators on Twitter over the last 5-6 years before 2020 especially were able to put out ridiculously amazing content, and the facts were there. If they gave in the notes that here's all of my resources, you can check the resources. So I would do that. Okay, you gave me this idea, you gave me this total breakdown of something that goes against everything I've ever known. Well, how can I verify that? So then having the ability to do that, I really found a lot of this content that was out there was really simply verifiable, and they took that off and they censored that. So having Bitcoin and having everything that's built on it with the decentralization, giving people the ability to continue spreading facts that maybe the big boys, whatever you want to call them, don't want you to know, is truly important. Everyone should have their ability, as long as they are spreading it in a peaceful way. I don't really like that. Let's cause harm and drama. Obviously, if there's that with drama, but the harm, if there's harm involved, then it really maybe needs to be censored. If you're calling for people to get hurt and violence upon people, I get that. But just spreading facts and knowledge, that shouldn't be censored. Everyone should have the right to create content that puts that out there.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think obviously, if you look at what's obviously going on with Julian Assange and Snowden and these folks who are out there trying to share the truth in how they're persecuted and obviously uh, unable to do so. And I think it's such a big canary in the coal mine for all of us, right? And then it's like, okay, how can Bitcoin help with this, and how can we start adopting that mindset of privacy is important, uncensorability is important. Obviously, I agree with you. If somebody's calling for violence or anything, I don't support that kind of thing. But so many people are just like, well, I don't have anything to hide. I'm a good person. Who cares? Like, my government's got my back. And it's like, yeah, not sure about that, you know? And so it's important that we, as citizens of the world, have access to the truth, and we aren't constantly being blocked off from that by the powers that be. You know, I have a thing I say, like, the powers that be do not want to become the powers that were, and they're going to fight every fucking inch of it to not let that happen. And the reality is, it's like they're dinosaurs. I hope that these folks are going to wake up to the future, and they're going to wake up to the fact that humans, we deserve the truth, we deserve data, we deserve knowledge. You know, it's a human right, I think, for us to be able to have access to the truth. And so hopefully decentralization, like you said, will lead to that as a possibility. Let's talk about the trading cards. Let's talk about cards, baby. Tell me, like, let's tell everybody, like, how did you come up with this concept, and what exactly is the concept for the freedom adoption cards?
So I came up with it. Obviously, I was talking about the being in trading cards before.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a process and in progress since 2018, and it took me at least 2 years of figuring out the politics and the philosophy of how to make this work. I think that was one of the most important aspects of how to appeal to as many people as possible, how to not piss off the people that I really need on my side in order to get this to move forward. Keeping it Bitcoin only, because I'm a maximalist. If I don't like using terms necessarily in a lot of ways, but if from the definition that's out there, I would be considered a maximalist. So my big one was seeing on social media, the majority of the algorithm is pushing altcoins, shitcoins, whatever you want to call them. So there needed to be a way to get to the general public and teach them about Bitcoin and separate altcoins from Bitcoin, because most people that I talk to, they automatically equate them to be the same thing. Just yesterday, the homeschool group I was in, was talking to a few of the parents about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies like Ethereum," and oh God, okay, here we go. So I had to break that. And
game on.
So those are the things that I really needed to study, and talking to the individual person and get as much feedback as possible. So in early 2020, I created the Bitcoin Life Raft, which is Bitcoin consulting that teaches people about Bitcoin. And I really just needed to go out and meet people in real life and get as much information from them as possible, as much feedback on what they know about Bitcoin, what has intrigued them, what has scared them away, so that I can compile all of this feedback into the creation of these cards. And as much as I wanted to get the cards out as soon as possible, it was more important to get the cards out incredibly clean, proper, and done right. So I literally spent the last 2 years just bringing in as much feedback as I could from as many people as possible. My number one run was I would go to banks, and I would go and deposit $25, $50, whatever it was, into the bank, specifically just so that I could talk about Bitcoin as loud as possible in line in the bank. And that's where I would pick up the majority of my clients, was standing in lines in the bank talking about Bitcoin.
Ooh, aren't you clever?
Those are my target audience, if there's anybody, because they're in there depositing massive amounts of money into a bank that, once they really understand what that bank is doing with their money and the fact that they don't actually hold their money, very important. So they were the main ones I needed to get the feedback from to begin with. And then getting the tellers, that was really fun. Is by the time I would get to the teller and make my deposit, they would say, well, what's this Bitcoin? I've been hearing you talk about it in line for the last 15 minutes. So getting them that work at the bank was really important. Reaching out to brokers and people in the financial industry, very important, because they, I would imagine, should know about Bitcoin, which a lot of them didn't. So getting their feedback was very important. And then follow-up feedback was incredibly important. So after doing like a consulting meeting, spending an hour or two with a client, and then what were the questions they would come back with a week later, a month later, as they're learning Bitcoin? What are the things they're having problems with? What are the elements that are grabbing them and getting them very hooked on Bitcoin? And what are the things after learning more that are still scaring them away or keeping them away from Bitcoin? So literally putting all of those elements into these cards. One of the biggest things I found was you really need a dose of red pill in order to understand and be able to digest the orange pill. So that's where the 10 categories came in. Understanding Bitcoin and the technicals of Bitcoin is definitely important, but I think even more important is the why. Why do we need Bitcoin? So that's where a lot of these other categories come in. Freedom is my number one favorite category of all. I think that's probably the most important. I've definitely noticed if a person doesn't understand the importance of freedom, they're going to really have a hard time understanding the importance of Bitcoin. So getting that across was number one. Monetary history, I think, comes in second. If they don't understand monetary history, what is Bretton Woods? What was the gold standard? When did we leave it? And why did we leave it? The gold seizure, all of these different elements that, from my experience, most people don't know. Even large people in the financial industry, they don't even know what Bretton Woods is. They don't know who Jerome Powell is, who is Janet Yellen, all boring subjects to them. So how can I make these subjects fun, intriguing, interesting, to get them to take the next step to look further into it? Because once you do understand these subjects, and monetary history especially, the rabbit hole starts, and then you start asking questions, and you have to intrigue them to ask questions. And the main factor that gets you so involved in Bitcoin is when you start asking questions. And a lot of people don't want to ask them. There's a fear, cognitive dissonance. There's many reasons why we don't ask those questions. But if we can make it fun enough, they'll start asking questions. If we can intrigue them enough, they'll start asking questions. The moment, especially I've got kids, the moment I can get my kids to start asking questions, there's an aha moment right there for my kids. And that gets me incredibly excited. And now we can start journeying on that educational process. So all of these cards are meant for that specifically. And the categories are meant to break down each of these subjects into small snippets of education so that they're not overwhelmed. I know the majority of clients I've had over the years, they get very overwhelmed, and that immediately pulls them away from wanting to learn more about this. It scares them. There's an inferior feeling that you can get. I had it dramatically myself in Bitcoin when I first jumped in. So let's break that down. Let's make it simple. Let's make it fun, and little bits at a time, so that we don't overwhelm anybody in what could possibly be the best thing they could ever discover.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Kudos to you on all of this, because, when you said freedom is an actual category of the 10 categories, that, as you kept explaining it, I'm like, wow, that really is the first layer of getting it, and especially for those of us who are privileged enough to live in countries that aren't dictatorships and authoritarian regimes. I mean, obviously our country's, less than ideal, but we take it for granted here. We take our freedom for granted. We think someone else is going to do it for us. And we don't even understand how money is tied into our freedom, and how it's also tied into our blind slavery, which I think we are, unfortunately, in this fiat system, which is it's a slave system that we don't even know that we're in. Like you had mentioned, like you don't know what you don't know until you start really getting it. And I used to be, uh, I worked at Deloitte. I worked in business, and I'm DJ. I'm more of an artist and everything than anything. But I thought I knew money. I thought I understood what economics was, because I took my little bullshit economics class in college. But it's just like Bitcoin really opens your mind up to like, wow, this is how all this works. And this is how all this malfunctions, and how this is hurting people, and it's hurting billions of people. And it's the unfairness of it all, really got under my skin, and it caused me to really want to learn more. So the freedom part, that the fact that you put that first, really, like, high five. I love that a lot, and I just love your guerrilla bank line tactics, dude. That's pretty badass.
You're gonna
I'm all
go
like,
hard, you gotta go hard.
oh, it's true though, and you just never know who's going to be listening to your conversation about it. And obviously, you're strategically placing yourself in these things. So I think I like that about you. You're kind of gangster. You're a Bitcoin gangster. You're a love gangster, though. That's what I like. You're a freedom gangster. Like, let's talk about the rest of the categories. I mean, you've got resources, you've got government, you've got influencers, you've got economics, you've got all of this. Like, let's talk about the pictures behind you on the screen right now. I want to. Who's behind you?
Well, we got Hal Finney.
You
He
have
is the legend in my mind in so many ways. Just an incredible person that left us way too early, and we were so blessed to have him be probably one of the most key people in Bitcoin. So he in the first series, if I didn't have Hal Finney as a legendary card, then I just wouldn't be doing Bitcoin justice. So
yeah, for sure. Go Hal. And yeah, for the Pacific Bitcoin Conference, they're going to be doing I don't know if it's a 5 or a 10K run for ALS. So
love it.
that's going to hopefully help support some research and funding, so that other people may not have to suffer and the fate that Hal did. So, yeah. Okay, let's talk about some other fun things. And so, okay, so how does this work? How are people going to get your trading cards? And is it just, you can just go buy the whole deck, or is it, how can people get some trading cards?
So, in studying trading cards for many years, and then being a big advocate of trading cards when I was a kid, one of the biggest things for me, especially in Bitcoin with these trading cards, is for kids. A lot of us, our first means of exchange was trading cards on the playground. And they were the first, they were teaching us scarcity. They were teaching us what an asset is and how to transact peer to peer, which is really cool. So it just fits so beautifully. We're going to have common cards, which are going to be very educational cards, but every bit of the artwork that goes into every card is, we put a lot of time into making sure the conceptual design of these cards and the details are so beautiful that they intrigue the reader to take the next step. So even though it's a common card, I still go as far as I possibly can in the artwork. And then you have your categories, and then inside each of those categories, you'll have mini cards specifically to those categories. People first get an education is a great one that will highlight so many things. For example, you have FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. A lot of people, when they first jump into Bitcoin, they have no idea what FUD is. All these acronyms in the Bitcoin community. And that's one of the things that can scare people away, because we're talking in a language they don't understand. So breaking down all of these acronyms and the Bitcoin language into a really fun way to understand that, I believe, is very important. So we've got the FUD card. We've got the dollar cost average card. We've creating the HODL card, all of these different things so that people can really interact in the language of Bitcoin. Education card will also be highlighting amazing books that will help you on your journey in Bitcoin, which is extremely important. The currency category will be highlighting the fact that all currencies eventually trend to zero. And we will literally, the first currency card is the US dollar card, which really simply explains in that one, it's a dumpster fire. which I really like the way that one turned out. And then we have the Zimbabwe $100 trillion bill card. So we'll be highlighting different currencies around the world that have eventually trend to zero. And we will be highlighting different currencies that are on their way right now as we speak. And I think that's really important for people to be able to see where that dollar has been and where that dollar is now and what the value of it is. So having that as a specific category, we believed was really important. Blockchain category, we separated that because the technology in blockchain is so absolutely amazing. And when it comes to Bitcoin, obviously it's ran on the blockchain technology, but we want Bitcoin to be its own category so that you can understand the elements of Bitcoin. What is a halving? What is a full node? Peer-to-peer, all of the different wonderful elements that Bitcoin has, and then whole blockchain separate, because as we build in Bitcoin, there's going to be so many amazing projects and so much potential to be built on the Bitcoin blockchain specifically. So that's where the blockchain category will teach different elements of what potential the blockchain has. Bitcoin blockchain specifically. I have to keep throwing that in there because that is so important. History category. History of not necessarily monetary history. Oh, that's monetary. Sorry, government category. My bad. Government category needs to highlight what the government is and how it operates. What's the difference between a communist government, a capitalist, a free market government? There's so many different elements and types of government. And I think it's really important for the general public, especially, to understand the differences between these. Even people that really have a good grasp on a lot of this stuff, they don't understand what capitalism really is, and they don't understand the difference between crony capitalism and free market capitalism. Right now, everyone imagines all capitalism is crony capitalism, and that's why it's bad, and everyone gives it such a bad name and talks so much shit on capitalism, but that's not what capitalism is supposed to be. That's what the governments have created out of an amazing idea that free market capitalism is, and turned it into crony capitalism and kept the name specifically capitalism just to confuse people. So that's where pushing a socialist agenda has been massive, because they're going, oh, look, capitalism, it doesn't work. So we need to go to socialism. And the ideal they put out of socialism on the overall, it sounds great. Yeah, we'll all work together and help each other out. But what socialism truly is not that. So having a socialism card is very important. Just breaking down all of these elements very simply for people. And I do not put in any of my opinions in this. Again, the acronym is FACT. I'm only putting facts. I literally research on every one of these cards massively to get the description so that I can give a very clear, concise description of this that is not one-sided, just simple, clear description of exactly what it is. And then the reader from there, they can go on their own journey of discovery and decide for themselves what they want to decide in the end.
And then so like so when the folks get these decks and these packs of cards, on the opposite side of the card, there's going to be the explanation, like you said. There'll be like text and things to say. And I know when we talked the other day, you were like, I have to consolidate all of this information into like 50 words or however many, you were saying how important it is to get that correct, because it is easy to go write, 800-page books about this stuff, but it's harder. Making things concise and small, I think, is much more difficult than making things big and elaborate. And so
some cards have literally taken me 8 hours for a 50-word description. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you're creating just the government description alone, how do you do that right? How do you do it politically correct? How do you do it in a philosophical way that comes across clear and factual? Incredibly hard. I think the hardest one I came across was the Federal Reserve. How do you describe the Federal Reserve in 50 words? Holy crap. That one was definitely very stressful for coming up with that one. And it took so many different tries to pull that one off. And I still don't know if I pulled it off exactly right. I don't know if there is an exactly right with anything, but I gave it my very best. And I think I put in enough hours and love and consideration into the descriptions in these cards to hopefully do the best I could for as many people as possible.
Well, I'm excited to see these out there in the world and to see how people are engaging with them because, and I think we talked about this too on our call the other day, just there's so many other avenues that people can come to Bitcoin through that aren't necessarily through the normal channels of Bitcoin and being super finance. I think the art and the music and the culture scene is it's huge, obviously on the planet. And it's like, well, everybody there uses money. So why not help them learn about the best money in the universe in a
Yes.
cool, creative way? And that's kind of why, obviously I'm a DJ and I love music and everything. And I'm a hippie and I teach meditation. And so I like peace, but I'm like, Bitcoin, yeah, that's our tool. And so I think it is for everyone, and it's up to us who have these like kind of special delivery methods to go reach those other audiences and help celebrate, how cool Bitcoin is and why it's so important.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the best gift you could give anybody in this world is a proper orange pill.
Yeah.
That's what I really want these cards to be, is for a proper orange pill and a gift. And I have been trying to orange pill people since 2016. And oh man, did I run a lot of people off. And I know a lot of people into Bitcoin that run a lot of people off. We get too technical, we get too passionate. It's really difficult to deliver that proper orange pill. So this is a way for friends and family, children, I mean, across the board, if you have a hard time orange pilling people and you really want to get them to understand Bitcoin, that's where I want these cards to come in. I want them to be able to get a pack of these cards and hand it over to whoever they're trying to orange pill and just get them started, intrigue them. And Bob from Barefoot Mining, just an amazing guy. He hit it on the nose. He says, man, if you can make Bitcoin fun, we can start bringing them in. And that's the whole point of this. Make Bitcoin fun. Find that niche that grabs them. Yes.
Exactly.
And birthday presents and Christmas presents, stocking stuffers. Like if you're going to spend $20, which anywhere in the world nowadays doesn't get you anything. And we start at 20 and we have different little bonuses that we do, but having the ability to give someone this as a gift, especially at a decent price point, it's nothing better. Whenever I'm getting ready for my kids, they got a birthday party, their buddy, well, we're going to go buy them something. That's just what we do in America, at least. And it's like, what am I going to get them for $20 and I'm going to throw in the trash? Like, I really don't want to, I'd rather go buy $20 worth of sats right now, especially in a bear market. And I'm going to go buy this kid something he's just going to toss in the trash. What a waste. So this is a way that you can get him a whole book. Is he going to read it? Maybe. Depends on the kid. And if he is a kid that's going to read something like the Bitcoin Standard and that's just amazing, then I'll buy that kid multiple books because he has potential to be the next
Hal Finney.
The next Hal Finney, yes. Exactly. So with the little bits that we can do with gifting, I think this could be one of the coolest little gift presents that could be out there coming up.
Well, and the holidays are coming up, so whoever stuffs stockings, I think that's a fun thing to stick in your stockings for your loved ones too. But I totally agree. Like I know my kids are a little older now, so I remember when they were young, it was always like, okay, here's our yearly budget for all the birthday parties. So it turns out to be about $20-$25 a kid, and I'm kind of like, what kind of cheap bullshit Chinese plastic are we going to get them? Or can we get them something useful and cool, other than just cash, obviously? But I think this is a really cool thing. I wanted to kind of circle back to a point that you had made earlier about, I want to circle back to 2 points. One about kind of the zealot vibe of orange pilling people. But before you had mentioned, a lot of people do not like to appear stupid. People, especially people who are in the finance world, in the legacy system, people who have made, their mark in that system, whether it's through finance, whether it's through other type of entrepreneurial ventures. It's very difficult to kind of realize that you've been subscribing to this broken system that's really, really broken, not just broken because we all know it's broken, but like ultra broken, And so I think approaching the ego gently is so important, and doing it in a cool, creative kind of way that doesn't make anybody feel less than, like you had said, or feel like incompetent, inferior, any of that. I think it takes a lot of finesse and skill and care. And I think with the cards that you're making and can do that, it can deliver it in a cool way that's like, oh, I didn't know this was like what the Federal Reserve is, or, what I think it's a very cool approach for sure.
And it gets them to come and ask you questions rather than you just giving all the answers. Intrigue them, give them a pack, and maybe even leave it at that and let them come and ask the questions. And I think that empowers the individual to be able to ask the question. You're not just feeding them with all the answers. I know everything. Here's all the answers. No, just get them intrigued and let them come and ask the questions. And I think that goes over so much better with people when you can allow them to be the ones to control the conversation. And then they don't have to have that inferior feeling because they're controlling it. They're asking the questions. They're the ones that are controlling the outcome of the conversation. So a lot of them don't want to know that's 10 categories. They may only be interested in 2. So don't overwhelm them with the other ones. Let them come and specifically ask about what they're intrigued in. And I think that's one of the greatest part of the 10 categories is there's going to be people that aren't interested in monetary history or economics, which is, according to most, the most boring thing in the world, economics. Oh my God. So having different categories allows them to choose the one that most appeals to them, and then let them come and ask about that specific category, those specific questions, and let it run from there.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there, because it's a buffet, and like your cards can act as like even like an amuse-bouche. It's like, here's just a little taster, and it'll kind of wet your whistle and whatever, and then you're getting ready for the main, your main information meal of your giant super cool orange pill. Woo!
Exactly. So with that, on the back of every card there'll be a QR code, and then if there's they learned about Bretton Woods on the card, 50 words, and they're going, okay, this is really intriguing. Now what do I do? So scan the back of the card, and it's going to take you to the website, and then you can further your education into those specific categories. We're still working on that with the website and making sure we have all the information. We're going to use a lot of links. There are so many better educators than me out there. So rather than me trying to create all of this amazing information that has already been done by absolutely amazing educators, I'm going to be linking those specific subjects to educators that have already done an absolutely amazing job on those subjects. So yes, continue that education in those specific little bites they got off of the buffet, and scan the back and go into what you really like. If you ate at the buffet and your favorite thing were the chicken wings, that's what you're going back for. So give them that option.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like, again, you're nailing everything, Alladin. I love it. You're like, you got it. There are so many genius educators out there in all of the different, categories of Bitcoin. And there's no need to reinvent the wheel with this. It's like, we can, act as kind of air traffic controllers, with things, and just like, oh, you're really excited about human rights. Okay, go see Alex Gladstein. Okay, cool. You want to learn about, Austrian economics, go read the Bitcoin Standard and Mises and everything. And I'm still like, I know this much. I literally feel like I'm still like a speck of understanding this. So I'm just constantly in student mode. You know what I mean? And
yes.
Yeah. And I heard somebody say the other day, like, yeah, I'm just the village idiot. And I'm like, me too. But
I think that's what makes you the most intelligent. The moment you are like, I got it, I know it, I don't need any more, then the intelligence starts to immediately descend. If we are open to constantly learning and our minds are a sponge and we keep it a sponge, it's only going to get better. I'll never feel like there's a point where I know enough.
Dude, I know. I'm like, it's like Zen mind, beginner's mind, or beginner's mind, Zen mind. I forget which order it goes, but it's true. Like everything can be new. And I think we've been our brains have been calcified to think this old system is the only way things can work, So it's it's overwhelming and destabilizing, I think, mentally and spiritually, emotionally, relationally. Like when you start getting into the world of Bitcoin and understanding this, it's very like, oh my gosh, am I crazy? Is this real? Is this, are these people in a cult? Like all the questions that kind of go through your head. And then you question yourself, like, how could I have been so stupid, and I'm duped because I've been buying into the old system. It's like, you're not stupid. There are the powers that be that have, trillions of dollars behind them to keep them the way they are. And so, of course, like, how can we compete against that if we didn't have access to the truth and real information, like you were saying earlier? So it opens up a lot of layers that I think it takes a lot of care and time and patience and compassion with yourself and each other as we go through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really important. And so, okay, so are all your family, are they all Bitcoiners?
Uh, I'd say the majority of them I've been able to do pretty good. My dad, it took him a little while because it's just really complicated,
Yeah.
and he's been a major inspiration for this project, and a
Aw.
lot of feedback I've gotten from him, and he's been a very good test subject for this whole thing.
Yeah.
With him, he didn't understand many things, but the moment I really broke down the freedom aspect of these cards, he was like, okay, I'm in. He goes, if this has a chance to help the world and help change the world for the better, I'm in. And then he was hooked at that point. So he was a big inspiration for the name Freedom Adoption Trading Cards. And that gave me the ability with his feedback to go, okay, I think there's a lot of people that are going to be into Bitcoin for the freedom aspect of it. And they may not be into it for the money go up and all the other reasons that many people get into Bitcoin. It may just be the fix the money, fix the world that gets them intrigued in Bitcoin. So let's focus on that first. And I didn't want the name of the project to be a Bitcoin name, because then that could alienate a lot of people that might give this project a chance. So calling it Freedom Adoption, now I can really go out and hit the ground, grassroots. I've got a lot of plans to specifically hit this at concerts, at baseball tournaments for my son. There's 5 to 10,000 kids and parents a day that come through there. Obviously, a big part of my audience is Bitcoin Twitter and my fellow Bitcoiners that I can hopefully rally them, like I said, as troops to get this going. But I really want to hit the general public. That is my main target audience. So going at it in a freedom aspect allows me way more opportunities in real world situations to present these cards. And again, thank you, Dad, for giving me that main really good push on freedom being the number one reason why he wanted to get in. So yeah, family has been pretty supportive of this. I learned a lot from my mom. She was like, Mom, you've been dollar cost averaging? She goes, well, the price went down, so I'm just waiting, for it to go. Okay. Dollar cost average, got to be a card, got to be explained incredibly clear, and Mom needs that card first. So they've been really good feedback for the project. And yeah, I'm really blessed to have a wonderful family that is getting it.
What a gift. You're so lucky. And I know my family eventually will get on board because they're going to be kind of forced to over time, but like they think I'm insane. My children think I'm insane. My ex thinks I'm insane, but I'm like, I promise I'm not. I mean, I am insane. Of course we all are, but I'm not. It's like, this is legit. Um, and so, okay. So then that's circling back to the other question I wanted to kind of go for was the zealot, and how, like, for all of us who are new and excited about Bitcoin, and then we do want to like orange pill the world, and not turn people off. I was speaking with somebody. I'm actually going to a meetup tonight, his meetup. And he was talking about how in the beginning when we were, he was orange pilling people, that he just turned people off because it was just like, and we were just vomiting on people, right? And then if we, like you said, just give them something that piques their curiosity, and let them kind of go like, well, what about this thing? I want to ask you some more questions here, and then figure out what their positive trigger point is. Like freedom, I think we can all agree that is ultimately how we wish to live our lives. Like it's important to learn how to become graceful orange pillars, and learn about communication. And it does enhance our relationships to be good communicators, And so I'm definitely on a mission, because I know I get way too excited. and so it's, take a breath. This is how we can chat about it and not scare people off. It's awesome though, man. I mean, it's such a journey. I mean, what's been your experience I think you said you had 10 artists that you're working with on this project?
Yeah, so I started with a lot more. I consider myself the architect of the artwork because I have to conceptualize. I'm very old school, so my artwork is pen and pencil on the paper. I'm learning a little bit on Photoshop and stuff like that, but I've been a sketch artist my entire life. I used to do a lot in blacklight painting and some really funky psychedelic stuff like that.
Yeah, woohoo! I want to
So
see some of that stuff, dude. Do you have any pictures you can share?
Not on my computer. So all that was done like early 2000s.
Cool.
So I'm sure I have it on a hard drive somewhere, and I've got some of my old paintings put away, but I'll have to share some of those with you one of these days. And
okay, cool. Yay.
Yeah. So I'll create the artwork the best that I can on paper, and then compile as much as I can of maybe some other designs that I've seen and styles of artwork specifically. And then I've passed that over to the artist, and 25 different artists over the last 3 years that I've worked with on different things with this. And then out of those 25, I chose 10. The cool part is my artists were from all over the world.
Wow.
So I literally from Australia to Argentina, Venezuela. I've got 2 amazing guys in Colombia, just all over the world with these artists. The greatest experience that I've had in this is orange pilling these artists. At first, they're like intrigued. They're like, okay, this is different than anyone's asked me to work on. And then I start like getting to know them more and more and throwing more and more little Bitcoin things. And when they're conceptualizing the artwork with me, they're like, okay, this is intriguing. Where did you get the idea of like the government card, having the government building above the water attached to the Kraken? Like the Kraken's head is the government, and then below the water is the Kraken. So what you see above, like in plain sight, everyone, oh, the government's great. They're here to help you. They're here to save you, take care of you, and protect you. But what you don't see is, we don't have to get too far into detail, but you can visualize the Kraken tearing the ships to pieces, and that tells you what the governments are actually all about. Yeah. So like that artist, he was from Colombia, and I mean, being in Colombia, he's like, I get this. All right. So we'd start talking more and more. And then he started, okay, now how do I do this Bitcoin thing? And then it's more and more of these artists started getting into the Bitcoin thing. Had a great artist from Ukraine over the last, I think it was like 3 months ago during the height of the craziness that's going on right now. And he originally was like, okay, I get it, and I'm going to help you with this. But at the same time, I have like different beliefs. No problem. I'm not trying to change your beliefs one little bit. This is, if you're interested in doing this, let's do it. If you're not, don't worry about it. Because no, I'm intrigued. I'd like to play with this. So then we just started talking more and more. And then I'm like, okay, I want you to read the Bitcoin Standard. And he speaks Russian and Ukrainian. And he goes, well, I don't know how I'm going to read this. So I went and dug up. Saifedean's been able to put his book into so many different languages. Amazing. So I found it in Russian, and I sent it over to this guy. He hits me up 2 weeks later, and he's like, man, I'm trying to get my family out of the country. He goes, this book has changed my life. I can't believe how I was thinking the way that I was, and where I'm at today is like amazing. And the conversation I got to have with him, it was just heartwarming in so many ways. And I still keep in contact with him, and he's doing amazing. He's teaching his family, he's teaching friends, he's passing Safedin's book around. And those are the little things in this artwork realm that I'm doing. Amazing. I love it. So it's far beyond just the trading cards. There's so many wonderful, uplifting things that have happened just creating this project. The cards aren't even out yet, and I've already had my own life-changing experiences inside this and been able to help other people the same. Like, this is the most blessed project I could ever work on. I love it.
Yes. Oh my God. I love this so much. Like, I just imagine that man, your friend, and his family escaping that and having a new life and a new perspective just because you guys were starting. And like you said, you hasn't even launched yet, but it has. It's totally launched, because of all these other things that are changing each other's lives, on a day-to-day basis because of it. Like,
Yes.
I wonder, like, what do you think Satoshi would have, like, I always think about him, her, she, they, it, whatever, I'm all like, was it Hal? Was it who was Satoshi? And like, are you able to see the majestic, like, result of the vision coming forward, and like that this white paper got revealed and everything got moved forward? I'm just like, it's just, I don't know. It just blows my mind. I keep thinking, like, I hope Satoshi gets to see this wherever Satoshi is.
Yeah. I imagine whoever Satoshi, like when I envision Satoshi, I envision a poet. That's what I see, because what Satoshi was able to create is pure poetry. He's like the Renaissance man of the 22nd century, just amazing. Like, it's the most beautiful story ever created. And when you really start to dive deep into the story of Satoshi and how Bitcoin was created, like, someone wrote this somewhere. This is a book playing out right now, and it's the most epic book ever written, and we all get to be a part of it. So
Yeah.
we're so blessed, especially us early adopters. To me, it's not the money go up, it's the freedom go out. Like, we are so fucking blessed right now to get to be an early part of this amazing movement. I think the most amazing movement in world history by far.
Yeah. And it's so, like, I'm starting to cry. Sorry. It's like, it's love go up, it's freedom go up, it's hope go up, it's humanity go up, it's our children's future go up, it's earth go up, it's all of it. And it's like, everybody's invited. There's not a single human in the world that isn't invited. And there's not a single human in the world that this can't impact in a positive way, and we breathe the same air, on this earth, and we are all a part of a system that must use some form of value exchange, and so that when I started learning about, like, wow, yeah, everyone has to use money somewhere, some form of money, and how what we have currently, not Bitcoin, of course, but the other fiat is so corrupt, and the centralization of it is what's caused the corruption, and the fiat nature of it has caused the corruption. And so it is poetic. It's like, I think of a Bob Dylan song or something. I don't know, and I'm like, maybe Bob Dylan's Satoshi. Wouldn't that be funny? Bob's all
Bob and Willie Nelson got together.
Oh, dude, I love Willie Nelson. He's just, oh my God, I love Willie Nelson. Roll me up and smoke me when I'm gone.
The poetry, the creativity, that's where the world has been changed with that more than any other aspect in humankind. And that's what us creators in Bitcoin, that we may not be the technical guys that can create these algorithms and these amazing protocols, but I think we have a bigger responsibility in a lot of ways as creators, as poets, as musicians, artists, to get out there, because we have more of an ability to reach the people than any of these digital protocols, technicals could ever do. They're creating that, and that is obviously the need. Without Bitcoin, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
It's up to us creators. We're the inspiration providers. So we really need to throw every ounce of love and creativity out of our hearts and our passion and put it into our creativity, and just go out there and do what the amazing poets and creators before us, the Bob Dylans, the Willie Nelsons, the Beatles,
the Jerry Garcias, the Bob Marleys, let's go. John Lennon, let's go, let's go. I know, right? And I feel like, and I love that you've accepted this responsibility, young Jedi.
It's been blessed upon me.
Right? And I feel like, I know for me too, I just feel like, I remember when I was, thinking about starting this podcast, it was just like, okay, I'm just going to kind of document my journey and try to talk to cool people, but I don't consider myself like an educator or certainly a coder or some finance guru person. But I just know that like talking story, like I used to live in Hawaii, and it's like, that's what you do. You talk story, you get together, you share wisdom, you talk story, you have, your bonfires and your food, and you gather with music and you hang out. And that's how things get spread, is like sharing stories, and through songs and through art and dancing and music and everything. And so everybody's got a way, every human being can contribute their divine gifts to this network, to this process, to this going forward, to this movement. What would you say to somebody right now who might be listening to this and is Bitcoin curious, and maybe already considers himself a Bitcoiner and wants to contribute a little bit more to moving the needle forward on Bitcoin adoption?
Devise your proper orange pill. Take your time. Consider every time that you reach out and try and orange pill somebody, that's probably one of the biggest responsibilities that you have in that moment. If you do it the wrong way, there's potential that you run that person off of Bitcoin possibly forever. Just the way you went at it was a way that just scared them for life. There's traumas that happen to us, and everyone's different. And some people, if you hit them with too hard of a red pill, that may run them off forever. If you hit them with too hard of the orange pill, that may run them off. So when you're trying to orange pill somebody into Bitcoin, remember that it's a major responsibility that you don't overdo it or underdo it. I've done this for so long, so many people. It's so important that if you are able to orange pill somebody correctly and you get them into Bitcoin, you just gave them one of the most amazing gifts that they may ever get in their whole entire life. So make sure you take that responsibility very seriously, and don't just go out there and throw it at the world in a way that you're not taking the time to really consider what you're doing. Because again, it's such a gift if you can do it right. And I really recommend to people that love Bitcoin and really want to help people get into Bitcoin, take your time, think about it really clearly, and make sure that your delivery is as heartfelt and passionate as possible, but don't overdo it. Sometimes my dad's favorite saying, less means more. And I think that's incredibly important when trying to bring someone into, you're giving them the best gift they've possibly will ever receive. Yeah, take your time and give them little bits at a time, because that can be very overwhelming to many people.
I agree. Wow, that's such a good piece of wisdom and advice. I wish I would have known this before I talked about Bitcoin to my family, because I think I accidentally traumatized them.
I traumatized many people. That's where I learned it of, okay, I got to slow this thing down and figure this out. And the more important Bitcoin became in my life, the more important that proper orange pill became. And that's where these cards are so important. If anything, you may be able to orange pill somebody with these cards, but it may teach you how to properly orange pill somebody. So I think that's a really good way for Bitcoiners that are already in Bitcoin to look at it. You get them for collectability, you get them for the history, and this is a fun, artistic, awesome way to celebrate Bitcoin. and economics and freedom. But at the same time, if you really study the cards, and again, 50 words to describe Bitcoin, to describe government, I put a lot of time into these. You can always twist them and bend them your own way. I highly recommend that if you got little things to add, but study the cards, even if you're a Bitcoiner, and get it down, because these cards may be your way to start orange pilling the people you've always wanted to. You may not even have to give them a pack. The cards may inspire you enough and educate you enough in a slow, proper orange pill that all it took was one pack for you, and now you're orange pilling everyone you know.
Yeah, I think it's super important. And, I started, I apologize. I may or may not have added you. I forget. So just a little Alzheimer's. I'm old. There's a Bitcoin Creators Lab Telegram group.
Yeah.
Okay, good. But let's do it. Let's do a how to orange pill, fill in the blank series, right? Because here's something that I think a lot of people get stuck on, is because they're like, if I don't have all the answers and know everything, I'm just not even going to bother trying to orange pill anybody. And I don't want that to be the hurdle that stops people from having conversations. Like, obviously know what you know, like you said, and then like get it rocking and rolling. And then if people are like, well, I want to know more about these other things, like know where to send them for step 2, step 3, step 4 for their journey, so that they can go in an intelligent fashion, I guess, or more thoughtful fashion, in an intentional way on the journey. And don't feel like we don't have to know every single thing about Bitcoin to have conversations about it. But you're right. I think it's important that we, fine tune how we communicate and share. So maybe we can do a couple little, I don't know, what do you call them? The like mock trials or something. Yeah. We could do like mock orange pilling sessions with each other and give each other feedback, and then we can obviously go and do some spaces or go do these podcasts, whatever, with different people. But I think it's important to just keep at it and keep our game going forward, for sure.
Absolutely. I love that. That's the last two categories that I didn't talk about, or it's that. So it's the resource category and the influencers category. So when people get these cards and they're like, okay, now what's my next step? Where do I go? So there's a resource category. And there is where I highlight amazing Bitcoin projects in the space that are perfect resources for newbies, perfect resources for avid Bitcoiners. And now they can take their journey to the next step. They learn what a hardware wallet is, and where's the best place to get a hardware wallet, and what is the best hardware wallet out there. The influencers category is, who are some of the best guys and gals that I need to start following and studying up on. Mises, God, amazing. Von Hayek, absolutely amazing. Lots of influencers that are current day influencers. Mark Moss has been a huge one for me. Robert Breedlove, great guy. Greg Foss. I mean, I can keep going and going. Yes, amazing guys out there that are offering free education to people daily in so many different ways. And so if you don't know everything, because none of us do, and you're like, how do I do this? And maybe just give them a good resource. Hey, have you ever heard about Bitcoin? Well, I would like you to check out this website. This is Through the Looking Glass, and some really just great websites that get you started, and find what they're interested in. It may not be Bitcoin. It may be history, maybe economics, education. Pick a category, or let them pick one at the buffet, and then send them to a resource specifically in that category. Once they start down that rabbit hole, everything leads to Bitcoin. Like, if you want an answer, if you want, okay, here's all the crazy, scary shit that I just figured out. Now what do I do? We do Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think that's super important and amazing. And I love all the people who've influenced you. They're definitely my teachers and mentors as well, too. And obviously dozens and dozens and dozens more of people out there who are sharing all of their genius with us. And so, yeah, it's so cool, man. Well, gosh, I'm so grateful that you took all this time to be with us. Okay, so I love your background. I love everything you've got there. Was there anything else that we didn't get to cover that you want to share? I want to make sure that we cover everything you want to talk about.
So I think I bounced around on one of your questions was like, how do the trading cards work? And I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm one of those. I bounce all over, so I
Me
gotta
too.
hone that in a little bit. So the trading cards, the way they work is you're gonna buy a pack. The pack is going to have 10 cards in every pack. First series that we are coming out with, hopefully in the next month, maybe a little bit less, going into print really soon. We're going to have about 60 cards in the first series. They will have cards from every category, and they'll be randomized. So when you get a pack of 10, who knows what you're going to get? You have common cards. Those are very educational cards, ones that everyone needs, and we need as many of those cards in the packs as possible because the big part of this is educational. We haven't put the game in it yet. A game may come later. I know a lot of people are like, okay, how does this game work? It's more in the way of traditional trading cards like baseball cards, football cards. There's not a game to it yet. Game theory, this is going to hopefully get you to understanding how the world works and Bitcoin. So game theory is in there, but the game is not there yet. We'll get to that point. Right now, it's more collectability and locking in moments in history. And the collectability of these, I think, will be really important as we move forward. So we have common cards, we have the rare cards, the ultra rare and the legendary. Each of those super rare cards will be amazing extra quality print in the way that we're going to throw foil printing and all kinds of really cool holographic stuff and just get super ridiculous with this. I'm shooting for one of the best, and this is a big one, but I'm putting everything into this to be one of the best trading card projects ever created. And the way that I'm really going to overly push all of the artistic stuff, the card stock to everything that I do. When you get these cards, each card will be a work of art. I'm not going to miss any point in these. I'm going to make sure every single card you get, whether it's a common card or a super ultra rare, whatever it might be, you're going to love every one of them. So then we can start a trading community with these cards, and let's get the peer-to-peer going more and more. It teaches peer-to-peer. Let's get people to people, start trading these cards back and forth, collect your pack, collect your series. Everyone's not going to be able to get everyone from the series. When you get to the legendary, there's only 100 in the entire series. So if you're lucky enough to get one of those, in a way, fuck the NFTs. I like NFTs in a way. I think it's a good idea, but we haven't got it down yet. It's not on the Bitcoin blockchain. I'm not there. This, you want an NFT? Well, here's a physical one. This is something you can stand behind. This is tangible. You got one of 100 of one of these. Now you've got a collector. And now you've got something you can really pass back and forth through the community. There's going to be people outside of Bitcoin that are the lucky one to get that 1 in 100. That may be the way to intrigue them further into this. Now they're meeting with some of these top Bitcoiners that want their card. Before you know it, they're chatting with a Tone Vase. They're chatting with one of the top guys because they want their card. And they're like, who is Tone Vase? As they're trading a card with them. And they find out and they're like, oh, holy shit. So I want to make it really fun and interactive that way. And we have some really special cards coming out. We just got Tone Vase in the series. He is a Bitcoin warrior. So there'll only be 100 Tone Vase cards. And if you're lucky enough to get one of those, then that'll be extra special. We're going the extra level with this. Every piece of artwork we do in the cards, we're going to have multiple assets to that. So if you really love one of the artwork, we're going to have t-shirts, stickers, canvas prints. One of my favorite, really detailed, beautiful ones is the Bretton Woods card. I want one of those on my wall. I think conceptually, at first, it took me a long time. I think I pulled that one off pretty amazing. So I love that card. And a lot of these will look absolutely beautiful in your executive office and wherever you want. That different types of artists with all their different styles. If you like the funky, crazy cartoon, we've got it. If you want that really detailed classic look, we've got it. There's a card for everybody. So beyond trading cards, we will have so many more ways for you to collect these and be a part of the community. And if anyone wants to reach out and help us out in any way with this project, we are wide open to work with just about anyone in the community. If you are a Bitcoiner, then we are more than happy to hear from you and start a conversation and see where we can get this thing rocking.
I love it. And so, okay, so people can reach out. Should they reach out to you on Twitter or on your website? What's the best way?
Either way, yeah. Website's probably the best. My You get my email and everything right there, so you can go directly to me, but whatever works. If you're a Twitter person, then Twitter is going to be your best way. If you're not a big Twitter person, then go to the website, and there's many different ways on the website to reach out. And we've got a lot of awesome incentives coming. I'm doing a Christmas special package. Right now I'm creating a Satoshi Santa Claus, which is going to be absolutely epic, really, really detailed in this one. I haven't seen anything Christmassy in Bitcoin done like super detailed yet. So this is going to be off the wall. And we're only doing 100 of these. So if you're lucky enough to be able to get one of these Satoshi Christmas packages, you're going to get a original print. There'll only be 100 ever made, a couple packs of trading cards, ugly sweater that'll be the Satoshi Santa ugly sweater, so that you can wear it every Christmas. Your own Christmas ornament that will have the same design. So we're going to take this Satoshi Santa and we're going to cross it all the way through all of these different awesome Christmas gifts that'll come together in a package. So if you've got a Bitcoiner that is like all Bitcoin all the time, this is the package that will totally, he'll unwrap and be like, and it's incredibly collectible. Only 100 of these will ever be made. So he or she can keep this forever, sell it down the road, whatever you want to do. It should be really special.
This is so much fun and it's so playful. And I love the spirit of it. Cause that's like, you know, coming together and being silly. And then if we see each other in these shirts or the sweaters or any of this stuff, it's like, yeah, you're crazy. You know, it just makes it more, it's just fun. We've got to have this fun factor for sure in this world. And life is serious enough as it is, you know, and it's like, let's enjoy ourselves. I want to ask you a quick question. I just interviewed Max Bybit and John about Pleb Minor Month.
Mm-hmm.
And great episode and great project that those guys are doing. So if you guys are listening to this, check out, you know, hashtag Pleb Minor Month. And these guys are definitely helping the plebs, which is like us, the normies, you know, or not, I don't know. We're not normies, but we're not billionaire Bitcoiners. We're normal people. We're normal Bitcoiners. And
mom and pops of Bitcoin.
Yeah, just us little plebs. But everyone's a pleb, really, I think. But I think you know, I was asking them, I'm like, because John's daughter was who's 7, was interviewing Max right after we were getting off of the episode. And so I was just like, well, how are you guys teaching, you know, the kids in the schools and their teachers about Bitcoin mining, you know, because obviously they can go run an S9 and heat their classroom and learn about Bitcoin and block, you know, I want to, you know, time chain versus blockchain. Those are two things I'm curious, you know, obviously vocabulary matters in Bitcoin. But what do you have any plans for the trading cards in schools or getting you know, to me, it's like every school is always looking for what's a fundraiser to raise for our school. Like that would be a cool way for kids to, raise some funds for their school by selling some of these cards. What do you think?
I'm really glad you asked me because yes, I have some amazing plans. Series 2 that will be coming out hopefully not too long after Series 1 is a kid series.
Yay.
And I'm working with some amazing projects. We have Shamarie, who created the Bitcoin board game for kids. Amazing guy, same thing, mom and pop Bitcoin pleb, wonderful person. There are some more that I'm in talks with. There's not a whole lot of people into Bitcoin education with kids yet. So I'm reaching out to any of them that are right now. If there's anyone out there that's doing that, please reach out to me because the next series is going to be specifically for kids. It'll be honed down, so there won't be as much of the dictatorship and some of the more hardcore stuff in there. And it'll be more specific. I'd like to be able to reach kids 4 to 12 with this next series.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the ones that I'm going to be going to the baseball tournaments with my son. There's some large tournaments that I would love to set up right next to Oakley, the big Bitcoin booth, and get these parents and kids involved. My kids are homeschooled, so I was at a homeschool academy yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to the wonderful lady that runs that academy, and I started telling her about the cards. We've got some wonderful plans. She's highly connected into the homeschool groups all over the country, and we're going to be reaching out to as many of those as absolutely possible to start getting into the vendor fairs and being a part of that. Hopefully, if there's anyone out there that creates curriculum. I'd love to create a curriculum behind the kids' cards. I think that would be amazing. And then that curriculum, it can be a one-day course or whatever that might entail, maybe 1 week, where we can put these cards together in a curriculum and be able to shoot that out to homeschools, shoot it out to kids outside of homeschool. Obviously, they're in public schools. They might need it the most, in my opinion. Our public school children really need this education. So anything like that, that's one of my major pushes, is to work with the children. The adults are very important, obviously, but I'm going to be putting a lot of effort into getting the kids involved, because they are the future generation. I've got 3 kids of my own, and they are my number one inspiration for this project beyond anything else. Obviously, it's Bitcoin, but my kids are what pushes me for everything that I'm going for in this. So yes, highly, highly involved in creating many things with that. And if there's anyone out there that wants to help out or be involved, please connect with me, because we need it. The kids need it more than anything, and Bitcoin community needs to come together and really start helping to create these avenues for children to learn about this. And I've got a really fun way that we can do this for the kids that'll, I mean, could you imagine Bitcoin trading cards being passed around schools all over the world? We may get banned in China, but hey, that'd be awesome. Let's get in there and let's see how we can get banned.
Yes, I can. And I think, we talked about on our call, like Meet Premier Bitcoin in El Salvador. They're doing the Bitcoin diploma, Looking Glass Education, Rockstar, Seb and Dahlia, and everybody over there, Greg Foss and them. So we got to hook you up with those guys. And, you know, when I was, again, circling really quick to Max and John, I was just like, what about doing like a kid pleb month, maybe in January, February? And, you know, because they're doing pleb minor month right now, but at least something small to launch. Like, let's just have some virtual stuff with the kids. And because obviously you guys are doing the homeschooling, let's get them going. Let's get them on the S9s. Let's get them the trading cards. Let's get them understanding, like, what is this Bitcoin thing, and why, you know, how can we go have a lemonade stand for our school and accept Bitcoin, or, you know, all the little things. And I think there's so many people who want to participate. So I think this would be a really cool way to get the families on board and get the kids excited and empowered. And it's a fun way for them to learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we need to do it more than ever, because in my opinion, we're in a battle against the Dogecoins and the Shiba Inus and all those crap coins that have, like, these kids, they're like, well, I own 1 billion Shiba Inu, so I'm set for life. And even my nephew, he was like, well, I bought the Shiba Inu and I've got like 6 billion. So when it goes to $1, I'm going to be set. Okay, you guys really need some help. And this is where the Bitcoin community needs to come together. Satoshis. Let's mint Satoshi millionaires. These kids right now, for $1, I think we're right around 20,000 at the moment. So for $1, they can get around 5,000 Satoshis for $1. Let's start pushing this Satoshi. It really needs to be out there. Like, let's go to battle against these Dogecoins and these crap coins in the way of not just shitting all over them. We don't have to talk a bunch of shit. It's evident. All we have to do is beat them, and we beat them in every single way. So let's just highlight the fact that obviously Bitcoin's better. Bitcoin's freedom. Those have none of those aspects. And we have Satoshis. You may have 1 billion Dogecoins, 1 billion Shiba Inus, but those are worth nothing, and they're inflated to the moon. They never will be worth anything. And there's a group of tiny people that own all of them. And the way the kids are taught nowadays in public schools, socialism and all that stuff, like, they're against the big conglomerates and the big corporations owning everything. Well, let's highlight the fact that Doge and Shibu and all those are owned by a handful of people, all of them. So why would you want to support something that a handful of people own all of? Like, that's what you're against, right? And I'm telling, the majority of kids are going to be like, well, yeah, of course I'm against that. We just haven't educated them the right way. If my kids come at me and they're like, Dad, I want to get a neck tattoo, and I shit down their throat and treat them like crap and get crazy with them, a week later, they're going to show up with a neck tattoo.
Yeah.
That's how it works. So we have to be parents across the board to all of these people in the way that Understand it like your kids. You can't shit down their throat and expect them to listen to you. You
Right.
have to come at them with passion, and you got to be clear and just explain to them the truth. They'll get it. Kids are not dumb. They've got a lot of resources. They're a lot smarter than we were in a lot of ways. Like, I'm from the 80s and 90s. They're a lot smarter than we were. We didn't have the same access that they do. They're just being indoctrinated 10 times harder than we were back then. So we just need to reach out to them and use compassion, make it fun, and go at them in a way where, especially the Satoshi idea is brilliant. Satoshi Nakamoto, genius poet. That's what we need to explain to these kids. $1 gets you 5,000 Satoshis right now. And unlike Dogecoin and Shibu and all those, Bitcoin does have the potential to get to the point to where every Satoshi is worth $1. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, the Bitcoin standard. So today you're $1. And if you're 12 years old, 14, 9, 7, and you're going, okay, well, this teaches time preference, the marshmallow experiment. $1 today, by the time you're 25, could literally be worth $5,000. And my son, he's really good. He goes, I tell him those things. He goes, yeah, Dad, but by that time, my $5,000 will only be enough buying power of like maybe $5. Sadly, it's true, but I mean, that's still better than.
I know. It's, it's so true. And I think, do you know who Frank Kern is?
Yes, I've heard of him.
Okay. Frank Kern's one of my teachers. He's one of my like marketing gods. I love him. And he's fun and hysterical, but he really talks about like understanding, like what are the people that your clients, what are they for? But really wonder, what are they against? Like, what do they just like, screw that, And so with kids, just like you said, helping them understand rather than talking about Bitcoin or Shiba Inu or anything, just like with your dad, like what's he for? He's for freedom. Hell yeah. He's against tyranny. He's against injustice. He's against lies, all those things. And so when we have those conversations first,
yes,
then we can say, well, here's the tools that are propping up the things that you're against. And do you want to keep supporting those tools? Probably not, right? Yes. Okay. Well, here's some new tools that are supporting the things that you're for. Do you want to check those out? Oh, okay. Yeah. And so that for and against thing, when I first heard that, I was like, oh, that sounds so yucky. But I'm like, that's how our brains work. And so rather than trying to sit and be all, kumbaya all the time, it's like, just go with the way that the world works and the way that we think and how our psychology functions, and work within those parameters and do it with integrity and ethical behavior, and you're going to get good results. And so I think we're on the right path, my friend. And yay to Frank Kern. I love you, man. Frank's going to get orange pilled here soon. He's not orange pilled yet.
We'll get him a pack of cards.
I know, dude. Right. I'll send him some cards. He will, like, dude, this is kind of thing, like when you were talking about going to the baseball, conferences and setting up next to Oakley and all this, like when we're dealing with people who are in the old system and they're really good at it, it's kind of like they've got, thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people who listen to them. It's like, those are the folks too, that we want to be like, come over here. Let's have a chat. Let's talk about these things. And then once they start to get it, then it's like they're going to start getting excited, and their whole audience is going to start doing that. So I think that is also a huge approach. I mean, we're in a what do you call it? The echo chamber in Twitter, which I love. I feel like I'm coming to my clubhouse of friends and people who I want to talk with and support and love. And there's all these other people in these other arenas that really could use the message of how Bitcoin can help their lives in the future. So yeah. Absolutely. Congrats, my friend. Woo! I'm so glad to know you. Hell yeah.
Yeah, same.
Hey, and we didn't get to play your song.
Oh, shit.
I don't have it pulled up, so I'm not gonna do that. But do you want me to share it, or are you going to share it in the show notes?
Sure, that would be great. Okay. The first one is definitely a little explicit, so I don't know if the kids are in the room. It may be a little bit much.
I think I only have one song from you.
You didn't hear the Bitcoin rap song?
I don't know. Hold on, because I know you sent me a song. I don't know if I saw. I know I did not hear two. I only heard one. and it was like a really pretty like guitar and
That's the one that's
singing.
coming out next. So I've got a whole album that I'm putting out in Bitcoin songs, all different genres. The first song that I put out was the Orange Pill song, and it's a little explicit rap song. I think it hits the point really well. It's catchy. A couple of my buddies, it's orange peel, orange peel, orange peel, because we hit the orange pill enough times, and I haven't orange peeled him quite yet. So, but it's stuck in his head, and he can't quit. So every time I see him, he's like orange peel, and he doesn't listen to it over and over. So I know it's stuck in his head. So that's a really fun one. It definitely, it's explicit language in there. So if the kids are in the room and you don't like a lot of explicit language, it may not be the right one. But the one that I sent you, that one's coming out next. That's Orange Like the Sun, Orange Like the Sunrise, Bitcoin Fixes This.
It's
Definitely
so
night and day from the rap song to this one. Melodic and more pretty. It's about the rabbit hole, and once you start going down it, it gets really scary, and you start learning all these things, and you get kind of lonely. But it talks about empowering yourself, and when the sunrise comes up, think of orange, think of Bitcoin, and we have the potential to fix it. So that's the one. The video is coming out really soon, and I'll be dropping that on my YouTube channel, Freedom Adoption Cards for Trading. So you can check out the Orange Pill one, and then when that one drops, please subscribe. I don't have many people yet, so if I can build it up and start getting more people to hear these songs and share them, again, I think creativity and music is one of the best ways that we can start reaching people. So I'll just keep dropping these songs, and hopefully we can spark something.
I think it's great. And I'm definitely going to share it if it's okay. I mean, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll put the links in the show notes and everything. So, any final words for folks that are listening here, whether you're on the podcast listening or if you're watching this video, any final words for future Bitcoiners or current Bitcoiners?
Whatever you can do, make it fun. Like you said, the world is absolutely gone crazy, especially the last couple of years, and we get dragged down, and the red pill is very scary for a lot of people. And I know there's a lot of people suffering in Bitcoin, not because of the number go up and number go down, but more just the realization of how everything works. It's a hard one. So reach out. So far, the Bitcoin community has been one of the most beautiful, amazing, awesome communities that I've ever been a part of. And I've been many different industries, and this is the best. We've got the best people. We've got the nicest people. This industry is fucking awesome. The people are amazing. Reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. Keep your toxicness to a balance, because we need to push the healthiness. We need to push the happiness through each other, around each other. We need to be there to lift each other up and not tear each other down. Just reach out, and there's a lot of people in this community that feel alone, and they need someone as well. So you may need someone a little bit, they need someone a lot. Reach out and start meeting people, start talking, spread the love, the awareness, and the more people you meet that have that same feeling, you're not alone, and you're going to get happier, healthier, and you're going to learn more than you ever could have imagined, and it's just going to grow and grow from there. I mean, embrace the best community in the world.
Yeah, dude. Heck yeah. High five on that one. It's so true. And Bitcoiners are so, like, again, everyone is so generous and kind with their time, and we want to help. And I know I've been helped by so many people, and I'm open. My DMs are open, and just reach out to anybody if you need support, or if you're confused or stuck somewhere. There's always somebody who's just like, yeah, let me help.
Yes. A lot of energy in this space.
So much energy and genius. I mean, seriously, the smartest people and the coolest and the kindest people are in this space. It blows my mind. It's just like, wow. Yeah, I guess.
Who did you have on the other day? Was Inti? Is that how you say it?
Enki, yeah, Enki's amazing.
Okay, I was listening to that, and he hit it spot on when you were asking about the Bitcoin cathedrals. Right here, and that was like aha moment for the Bitcoin cathedral. He hit it so beautifully. We are building the Bitcoin cathedral in our hearts and minds. It's not a physical place. It is a mental place for all of us, and every one of us that gets there has an opening for the next person. So find that, discover it, be a part of that Bitcoin cathedral in your mind, and you're going to start meeting more and more people. They may not be there or they already are, and just start joining together. We don't have to be in each other's minds. We all just need to have it in our own. And then when we go out and enjoy our company together, we're all going to be in that beautiful Bitcoin cathedral mindset. It's going to be the most amazing time ever.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think we were using the word citadel.
Citadel, sorry, yes.
Yeah. And whatever it is, our temple, our citadel, our utopia of the world. I mean, it's not like it's going to not just, all of a sudden it's magic fairy, My Pretty Pony everywhere. I mean, it's a war out there right now. Yes. So we need each other to we're in, I look at it like this tapestry that we're all on, and sometimes one of us is up and the other kind of down, but we're all interwoven as humans, not just Bitcoiners, but as humans. And so it's important to remember, like, when you're down, someone else is up and they want to help you get back up. And it's always going to be in flux. There's never static. We're all at the same time doing the same. It's just, that's called death. And we're while we're living, just remember that. And it's okay to like reach out, ask for help. This month is actually Suicide Awareness Month. And I did an episode with Robert Melka. And it's really important for all of us to remember, like, mental health and staying strong physically, staying strong with our relationships, staying strong with our hope, and being warriors in our mindset is very, very, very important, because it's easy with all of these punches that are trying to take you down from all these different angles. It's important to stay centered and in your own power. But one of the three of the most important words you can ever say are, I need help.
Yeah.
And there is zero shame in asking for help about anything, and I give the analogy, especially for people who are like, well, I'm the one that people usually come to help for, so I don't want to ask for help. It's like, you could be the best brain surgeon in the world, but I do not recommend that you practice brain surgery on yourself.
Yes.
And so it's okay to ask for help, even if you are a total badass. And so I just wanted to kind of plug that out there too.
I mean, even more so you need it, because you need to continue being the badass that helps everybody. And you can't do that if you're struggling yourself. So I think that even more importantly, if you are one of those people that help a lot of people, then you need to be at your top so you can continue doing that. So yeah, you should be the first one to be willing to ask for help so you can continue on your amazing mission of helping people.
That's right. And so it's, it takes a village, my friends, takes a village. The Vibe Tribe village of Bitcoiners, and peace and love and music and artists and freedom, adoption card people. Woohoo.
Absolutely.
Right on. Well, everybody who's listening, definitely go check out Alladin. You guys can check him out on Twitter at Bitcoin Life Raft. You can also go on Twitter at FAC, the number 4, the letter T, fact. And then also go to fac4t.com, and you guys can go check out what's happening. Can people pre-order the cards right now?
We don't have that set up yet. So the moment they come out, they can immediately grab. Now, what they can do is we have a little link inside our website. You can drop a link there, and your first pack that you buy, you will get a free pack with that. So you can jump in that right now. And because we don't offer the pre-order, but we do offer that. So come jump in, drop your email, and then the moment the cards come out, we're going to hit you up, let you know they're there, so that you can make sure you get yours, just in case there is a wild run. You are lined up to make sure you get yours before anybody else and get a free pack with it.
Awesome. Yay. Yeah, this is so great. Well, thank you so much for joining us and spending all this time. And I'm so excited to get the cards and to share them, and hopefully see you at Pacific Bitcoin and everywhere else in the world. I don't know. I'm excited and grateful for you. So thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. Same. Really appreciate it.
Totally. And then you guys definitely go, you can go listen to the show at fountain.fm, and there's going to be show notes with all these links at djvaleriebeloved.com. But definitely go, number one priority, go to Alladin's website at fac4t.com and check it out. So peace, love, and aloha. I hope you guys have an awesome day. And thanks again, Alladin, for being a guest on the Bitcoin Peace and Music podcast.
Thank you for having me. Cheers, Valerie.
Totally. Cheers, everybody. Peace, love, and aloha. Woohoo. Yay.